I work front desk at a boutique hotel in Copenhagen, Denmark. Last month, an American checked in and immediately asked where the real Denmark was located. I said he was standing in it. He shook his head firmly. No, like the capital, the important part where things happen. I told him Copenhagen is the capital of Denmark. He laughed out loud. Come on, I mean where the actual government is. The parliament. I pointed at Christiansborg Palace, clearly visible from our lobby window. He squinted at it suspiciously. That's just a museum, right? Like a tourist thing? I explained it houses our parliament, the Prime Minister's office, and the Supreme Court. He said, but where do the important decisions actually happen? The real stuff. I said there. In that building I'm pointing at. He looked genuinely confused and slightly annoyed. Then why haven't I heard of it? Why isn't it on the news? I asked what news he meant. He said, real news. American news. CNN, Fox, whatever. I tried explaining that Danish politics aren't usually on American news. He said, exactly my point. If it was actually important, it would be. He spent 3 days convinced our parliament was decorative, like a movie set. On checkout, he told me I should visit a real capital like Washington, D.C., to see how government actually works. A cafe worker in Amsterdam told me an American asked why their menu wasn't in international language. She asked if he meant English. He said, no, international. The one everyone speaks at airports and stuff. She said English is what she assumed he meant. He insisted international was different, a separate language. She asked him to describe it. He said, it's like English but for airports and hotels. International. She realized he definitely meant English. He got frustrated with her. Why are you making this so difficult? Just bring me an international menu. He left to find an international cafe. She still wonders what language he thought he was asking for. But nothing prepared me for what happened with the pharmacy incident in Oslo. My friend works at a pharmacy in Oslo, Norway. An American tourist came in demanding Tylenol specifically. She offered him paracetamol, explaining it's the exact same active ingredient, just the European name. He refused outright. No, I need American medicine. Real medicine. She showed him the box, pointed at the chemical compound printed clearly. He shook his head. That's European aspirin or something. I know my medicine. She explained that paracetamol and acetaminophen are chemically identical, just different regional names for the same drug. He said, if they were the same thing, they'd be called the same thing. That's basic logic. She asked if he'd accept ibuprofen instead for his headache. He perked up immediately. Oh, you guys have real medicine here? She handed him Norwegian ibuprofen, the most common brand. He read the label, saw Norwegian text and instructions, handed it back to her. Never mind this. I'll just wait till I'm somewhere civilized. He left the pharmacy holding his headache. She told me he returned exactly 1 hour later, bought the paracetamol without speaking a single word, and left. I was working reception when an American family arrived in Stockholm, Sweden, looking exhausted. The father asked what time zone we used here. I said Central European time. He nodded slowly, processing. So how many hours behind America is that exactly? I said we're ahead of America, not behind. He looked skeptical and confused. That doesn't make sense geography-wise. You're east of us. East is behind, west is ahead. I explained time zones move east to earlier times, not later. He said, but America is the starting point for time. I asked what he meant by that. He said, you know where time starts each day. The reference point. I told him time zones reference Greenwich Mean Time in England. He said, England uses American time though. They speak English. I said no, America actually uses Greenwich as a reference point for its zones. He pulled out his phone, checked something, then said confidently, "My phone proves I'm right here." His phone showed 3 p.m. in New York, 9 p.m. in Stockholm. He said, "See? You're in the future. That's literally impossible." I gave up trying. He later complained to booking websites that our clocks were intentionally wrong. A museum guide in Prague, Czech Republic, shared this story with me. An American tourist insisted the museum building looked fake and constructed recently. She asked what he meant by fake. He said, "It's too old to be real. No way this is authentic." She explained it was originally built in the 14th century. He said, "Exactly my point. If it was really that old, it'd be destroyed by now." She mentioned Europe has thousands of medieval buildings still standing. He said, "America's buildings from the 1800s barely stand up. You expect me to believe this is 600 years old?" She showed him detailed restoration records and historical documentation. He said, "So it's a rebuild." "That's exactly what I thought." She clarified they'd restored damaged parts, not rebuilt the structure. He said, "A rose by any other name, lady." He told his family the entire museum was historically inaccurate and probably propaganda. She watched him take dozens of photos to prove European history was fabricated. He posted them online with long captions about propaganda and fake history. She says he tagged the museum claiming they were lying about date. A bartender in Berlin, Germany, told me an American ordered a beer, then immediately asked why it wasn't cold enough. She said German beer is served cool, not ice cold, to preserve the flavor profile. He said, "Beer is supposed to be cold. That's the entire point of beer." She explained temperature affects taste significantly, and Germans prefer actually tasting their beer. He said, "That's exactly why American beer is better. We invented refrigeration technology." She mentioned refrigeration wasn't invented in America originally. He said, "We perfected it then. Same difference." She offered him a Pilsner served at a colder temperature. He tasted it carefully and said, "Finally, real beer. This is good." It was the exact same beer, just slightly colder than before. He left a detailed review saying German beer tastes significantly better when served American style. The bartender says he proved her entire point about temperature and taste. I once watched an American argue with a train conductor in Switzerland about ticket prices and classes. He'd bought a second-class ticket but sat confidently in first class. The conductor politely asked him to move or pay to upgrade. He said, "I paid for a ticket. A seat's a seat, doesn't matter where." The conductor explained the class system and pricing. He said, "That's discriminatory. In America, we don't segregate people by class on trains." The conductor said it's about pricing tiers, not segregation. He said, "Same thing, different words." The conductor offered to upgrade him for an additional fee. He refused completely. "I'm not paying twice for one train ride." The conductor explained he'd only paid for second-class access. He said, "False advertising. Your website said train ticket, not train ticket with restrictions." The conductor firmly moved him to second class. He spent the entire journey photographing first-class seats and posting about European elitism and class warfare. Other passengers told my friend he'd muttered about freedom and rights the whole ride. A waiter in Lyon, France, told me an American sent back his steak 3 separate times. First time, he said it was completely raw. The waiter explained he'd ordered it bleu, the rarest preparation in French cuisine. The American said he'd ordered blue cheese steak. The waiter clarified bleu means very rare in French cooking terminology. He said, "Why would you name a steak after cheese? That's confusing." The waiter offered to recook it to his preference. Second time, the American said it was still raw in the middle. The waiter asked how he'd like it cooked. He said, "Cooked. Just cooked." The waiter asked for a specific temperature preference. He said, "Hot." All the way through. No pink. The waiter prepared it well done as requested. Third time, the American sent it back because it was too dry and tough. He demanded a full refund for their broken kitchen that couldn't cook properly. The waiter's manager comped his entire meal to avoid conflict. He left a 3-star review saying French chefs don't understand how to cook American steak. The waiter says he still works there and still remembers that specific night vividly. My Norwegian colleague told me the perfect story that summarizes everything. An American staying at our Copenhagen hotel asked for directions to the Europe building. She asked which building he meant specifically. He said, "You know where Europe is based. The headquarters." She said Europe is a continent, not an organization with a building. He said, "No, like the Europe headquarters, where they make decisions." She asked if he meant the European Union institutions. He snapped his fingers. "Yes, exactly that." She said the EU has institutions in several different cities across Europe. He looked annoyed. "Just tell me where the main one is. The important one." She mentioned Brussels, Strasbourg, and Luxembourg all have major institutions. He interrupted. "Which one's in charge of the others?" She explained it's complicated because different institutions have different locations and purposes. He said, "That's the most European thing I've ever heard in my life." She asked what he meant by that. He said, "Bureaucracy. No wonder you guys need America to function." She asked what America had to do with the EU specifically. He said, "We basically run NATO and NATO basically runs Europe, so we run you." She said that's not how any of it works. He said, "Agree to disagree on that." He asked if she knew where the NATO building was located. She said Brussels. He said, "See? Same place as Europe. Told you I was right." She said the EU and NATO are completely different organizations. He said, "Potato, potato. Same thing." What strikes me after 5 years of hotel work isn't the ignorance itself. People don't know things, that's completely normal. It's the confidence, the absolute certainty that their experience is universal, their country is the reference point, their way is default setting. When you tell them otherwise, they don't get curious or interested. They get defensive, like you're attacking them personally by simply existing differently. I think that's what the American in my opening story couldn't handle. Not that he didn't know Copenhagen was important, but that something could be important without him knowing about it first. That the world has centers of power and culture and history that have nothing to do with America and never ask permission to matter. Got more stories that'll make you rethink everything you know? Wait till you hear what happened when an American tried explaining baseball rules to a cricket stadium in Mumbai. That's another video.